Split the difference. Yeah, I know. That's what I said.
This. So. Yeah. Yeah.
All right, let me get that to you. So. And they'll get up and go to the podium.
So all speakers, everybody speaks on mic here.
So there are going to be chairs here where people are sitting. People are going to be walking the speaker. Whoever is speaking may or may not be walking in front of the people who are sitting, and the people in the audience are not going to see that because of this level.
I don't know.
Because it's holding this laptop, which are which are connected to this camera. Okay, I'm gonna show up. So
Like I mean,
no, because I don't understand. So I don't know. And maybe it's a more of a because also the way that this is set up, we are not on the slide. So I'm also trying to navigate. What type of
So maybe what would be. Just kind so maybe it's
my question is still, I'm not saying that. I don't so that's my color, but my original question understand that's where like. No, but on this stage, where it's that's not.
So. Okay.
Okay, this survey is a problem.
I'm just gonna have
Hey, so. So what I thought is that this.
I just sat there for the time being. I need to be relevant. Well, the camera can come back. It's more important that the mic. So, but all I have is this mouth. So the camera can. The camera's right in front of all these people.
Yeah, I know.
Well, I'm gonna need to get a shorter table or something.
Because now I'm thinking.
So we're just trying to figure out the placement so that. Okay, awesome. Thanks, Ben.
Right in there.
There you go. Right. Okay.
Maybe we can skip it.
It's like cheers. Because my interview. Cheers. There you go. And you're Tuesday. That's what it's like.
Please.
Okay.
Yes.
We migrate 5 minutes.
It's okay.
Terry. Just kidding.
I know, I was there, Katie and I went yesterday. I went to Mark.
All right.
Oh, yeah.
I like to stand in front of me every side.
Hey Beth, do you know, did they test this already?
They did, they turned off.
Okay.
Just one, two.
Hello, everyone. Hello. Welcome to the Ohio History Connection. You could tell old school, right? I was ready to say society, I think. Welcome to the Ohio History Connection and to the Meet the Sheroes event this evening. Storytelling about Summit Station, Jacks, some would say Jacks a Go-Go, out of the 70s and early 80s. My name is Lester P. Singleton, Julia Applegate, and I have been working on the preservation of lesbian history, of queer women history, of feminist history, of what I get excited about, Ohio history. And if you told me when I was 8 or 9 years old doing the field trip that a high number of Ohio people who went to school here in Ohio came at some point in their elementary or middle school, junior high years to the Ohio Historical Society, came here to this museum and checked it out. And I can remember being here and really wanting to have a part and wondering if I would have a part in having something in this museum. And here we are, not only as a part of, many of you may not know about the Go High Project. I encourage you to go online or send for their newsletter. It is Gay Ohio History Initiative. Did I get that right, guys?
Perfect, thank you.
Oh, okay. See, I can do that commercial for you all. And it is gathering our GLBTQIA history across the centuries, it is an initiative specifically to gather up that information. Something Julie and I have been made well aware of, though, a lot of times lesbian history is not what is brought or collected or gathered. Women a lot of times aren't thinking about our lives, their lives as being important enough to save our stories. And so this initiative that we're doing is to try and do that. I truly do believe in my heart that Ohio is the heart of it all. I will say it until the day I can't say it anymore, that nothing important legislatively, politically, historically happens in this nation without Ohio, and dare I say the world. That's how I feel about it. And I refuse to allow people to present us Ohioans as something other than progressive, as something other than a group of people making choices and doing change for the betterment of the world. And so that is a part of what you're being a part of tonight. Thank you so much for coming out on your Wednesday for National Coming Out Day. We have to lift that up. I always have to let you know that there's also a connection to Ohio, and I can tell you about it later so we can get the show going, get our program going. But Ohio, again, a co-creator was from Ohio for National Coming Out Day. So like here we are. Up first, we have the PuppetQueers. In fact, PuppetQueers, I've been saying it wrong for years now. But the PuppetQueers are here and they are going on 21 years. 21 years they have been out here making us laugh through their satire, through their witty and sometimes downright ornery banter that goes back and forth. Without further ado, won't you please welcome the PuppetQueers.
So Beth asked me to do this song in honor of Coming Out Day. And so I've never done it. So here it goes.
Maybe. Don't you love things that have audio turn off?
So just to be clear, we are two members of the PuppetQueers. Our other members couldn't be here tonight, but we will be performing at Club Diversity near Thanksgiving.
We're vamping, we're vamping.
Keep vamping?
We're not vamping.
Your son will come out tomorrow. Betcha he's a bottom man tomorrow. He will say, you better sit down. It's hard, oh, but I really feel I've got to tell you, I'm a gay. You may ask me just how I know he's a fairy. Well, I've seen him around the bars, he's very. Oh, your son come out tomorrow, so you better put away your sorrow and seize the day. Tomorrow, he'll tell you tomorrow that he's a big fag, hooray. If you're stuck with a brain that's straight and narrow, well, it's not about you, as he's okay. Your son come out tomorrow, and you have some pumps he'd like to borrow. And sachet, tomorrow, tomorrow, he'll tell you tomorrow that he is so proud and gay. Tomorrow, tomorrow, there's no need for sorrow, like Gaga said, we're born. Let's away.
Never knew how much I loved it. Never knew how much I cared. When I put my hand upon it, knew I want to keep it there. I love some beaver. In the morning, the beaver gets me tired. A beaver. In the evening, beaver all through the night. Beaver lights up my daytime. Beaver fills up my night. Love it when you press against me and run up and down my thigh. Give me your beaver. In the morning, beaver makes me feel alright. Beaver. In the evening, beaver all through the night. Lesbians all love the beaver. That is something you should know. Beaver, I just got to have it. Beaver makes me such a hoe. Gertrude, well, she loved her Alice. Alice, well, she felt the same. When she put her arms around her, she said, Alice, baby, you're my flame. Give me your beaver. In the morning, beaver, that is his man too. Beaver, I'm on fire. Alice, baby, I'll burn for you. Columbus had so many lesbians, many crazy wild affairs. When they find a girl that's sexy, want to get her bottom bare and get some beaver. Love to kiss it, love to feel it when it's tight. Beaver, in the morning, beaver all through the night. Now you listen to my story. It's a point that I have made. Girl, I've got to get some beaver. So come on over here and play with my beaver. Got a sizzle, got a beat on turning to beaver. What a turn, what a lovely way to burn. What a lovely way to burn the beaver. What a lovely way to burn. What a lovely way to burn. What a lovely way to burn. Yes.
Quick puppet chain.
Oh. Lion's tail, well, you do that. Okay.
One more song.
Sometimes I'm right and sometimes I'm wrong. But my truth is in this song.
The gay ones, the straight ones, the bi ones, and then makes no difference what we're walking. Cause
I and all the gay people.
there is a girl, one who's married to a guy, one whose best friend is a trans, one who's dating is a bi one.
Different strokes for different folks.
And so on and so on and
Scooby Dooby Dooby.
so.
Cha-cha. I'll be me and you do you. Just spread kindness, whatever you do.
You love me, you take me, you don't me, and then we do it over again.
I follow the gay people. Yes, I do.
There is a gay one who's looking for a straight one, whose daughter is a butch one, whose sister is a femme one.
If I cheer, if you're a queer.
Woo! And so on and so we do.
Cha-cha. We got to live together.
There is a fair one whose lover is a twink, one whose father is a dyke, one whose father is a drag one.
And if you're lesbian,
So on
and so on, it's gonna be cha-cha. Cause I love all the gay people.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you, everybody for inviting us. We're the PuppetQueers, we perform at Club D at Thanksgiving. So if you want to check that out, we'll get some stuff. I'll give you some information. All right, have a great one. Thanks a bunch.
So one more time for the PuppetQueers. I mean, you think about in my mind, that's a whole little documentary right there, 20 years, right? The stories that I'm sure that they can tell. And to me, when you hear that 20 years, it's important for people to know that because it breaks that myth that we're invisible and that we're not doing anything. But here we are doing this amazing act of creativity. So, you know, I'm planting the seed out there. Maybe someone will be like, yeah, let's do a documentary on the PuppetQueers and make sure that there's stories here for posterity. All right, so what we are going to do next, I want to make sure to direct your attention to the tables that are around the room. There is all kinds of memorabilia out there on the table. If you see it on the table, you can ask us, I mean, try to, my volunteer fell ill, so the person that I was going to have standing there telling you about some of these things is not here. But I'm sure that there are folks that could tell you some stuff about the memorabilia on the table. You can ask me. All of it has some kind of connection to Jackson Summit Station. So if you see it there, it either grew out of it or was nurtured by it or something, those artifacts. We also are very excited to have the Columbus Metropolitan Library here tonight. Please check out their table and what they have going on. Little Millie's Catering is behind you. Please help yourself to the snacks there. Next, we're going to have some music and ambiance by Made in the Myth. and main events, I don't have your bio over here, so you're gonna have to talk about about yourselves. It's an organic kind of thing, you know, but they are a local, band, started finding out about them 3 or 4 years ago. They are, have some really clever lyrics. Their sound is old and new at the same time, and their energy is fantastic. So please enjoy the musical rendering of Made in the Mist. They'll be doing the ambiance, and then we will be back with Spiritual Daughter. Okay, so I didn't even do my check, so I'm gonna yell into this microphone a couple times to do that. I apologize in advance.
Feel free to move around, take pictures. All this stuff came out of the attic at Summit Station. The booth, the chair, table, so feel free to take pictures, and we have 24 little kings, so if you want one, crack it open. They're cool dish. Don't be shy.
If you didn't hear that, please take this opportunity to go out and get photos with the booth and the display in front. If you did not hear that, please take your opportunity to go up there and take your pictures. Check. Not on the screen. Thank you. Thank you. What song about you for them?
And
I gotta go touch the bars.
Yeah.
It's that one. And then it was. Might have been off. Yes.
That is the oldest one. Usually inside, they don't follow hospital. Which I'm sure we're all very familiar with.
Oh, I think so.
Imposter syndrome.
like. And
Okay, that's what I'm talking about. Thank you. Okay, we got another break. Because I am.
Yeah.
Somebody asked the question about internet. That's what it's probably internet. They made me or this. They didn't understand my instruments. I'll see you about it. All right, I'm sorry, it was a little late. Looking to be a hot and
They did that. I didn't. They now she's 19. Yeah, I'm ready.
Really great fans, but don't know them, but everybody's game works so easy. You just get out there.
Yeah.
All right, guys, we got one more song and then we're gonna get started. And we'll be back after that. Isn't that it? Nathan? All right. Please put your hands together for main event. We'll move on with our program. Well, I think we are. As soon as our Zoomer, is this on? Yeah. Did you say yeah, it was Julie? Oh, okay. Oh, hi out there. Thank you for tuning in, by the way. Okay, I have a couple announcements. So, some of you know that we're making a documentary. And some of you know that we had started a Kickstarter. Today's the last day. It was the last day, I think.
22nd.
The 22nd. The 22nd is the last day. We're trying to raise $100,000. I know, but it really isn't much in terms of making a film. It's really like the skin of your teeth amount that you need to make a film. And luckily, through the years, Jules and I have made some friends that are gonna help us with editing, which will help with the cost there. But the reality of it all is it'll probably be more than $100,000, but we're trying to do that. To say that we have a long way to go is an understatement. However, what has happened is that folks have been asking if there's some other way that they could donate, and they have been donating to the LBA. And that has been going very well. I did not check on the amount today, so I can't remember what it is to share it with you, but it's somewhere nearing a quarter of what we need, right?
That's a little optimistic.
Oh, 10%, I'm sorry, 10%. How about 4? We're gonna go to 12%. We're 12% of the way, in less than a month, right? In less than a month. And so I believe that, I thought from the beginning that it would come from the community. And as a lot of stuff in marginalized spaces does, it comes from us. So this is just us letting you know that we'll take your quarters, your $5 bills. If you have a tenner running around there that you can send to us, we figured out we only need 2,600 people to give us $38. And we will have amassed the 100,000 that we need. And to me, that's not that many, right? We got 80 people in here so far tonight, and I think that we deserve a handful. So there is opportunity, you can make donations. The donation jar that is over there, everything that you see that's for sale, all goes towards the making of this documentary. The LBA is our fiscal agent. They're the ones taking care of the monies coming in. Those donations are tax deductible. And that's all I'm gonna say about that. We also have a raffle going on tonight. You can check the table to see what the raffle prize is. So Francesca, who normally works the crowd, but we had to throw her behind the table today, is over there waiting to rip off and give you your raffle tickets. All right, so now I would like to introduce one of the great things about Summit Station, Jackson Go-Go, is you never know when you're going to come in, who might be up on stage, who might be sharing their talent. And so this poet helped us out. Anybody go to the historical dedication or historical marker dedication? So this poet was there. By the way, the marker is back up. It's back up and a little more secure than it was before. So that's a good thing. I can't even remember how long, I have known spiritual daughter. It's been a while, our kids, kind of grown up together, and, she is the, creator, the mastermind behind Pussy Willow Lotus, which is a Black GLBTIA retreat, camping retreat. She takes urban people to the woods. And they stay for a weekend, that's what's impressive. And provides just a relaxing weekend. All the food is provided, there are massages, there's aromatherapy, there's all kinds of things that go on. And she started that nonprofit 2019. She is a community activist and she is also a poet. Please welcome Spiritual Daughter.
Thank you. My name is Nina Marie, also known as Spiritual Daughter. I have a little poetry musical selection for you guys. Please forgive me if it's not quite 2 minutes, but I did my best. And I love audience participation, so feel free. Before I get started, happy National Coming Out. Please stand up and give yourself a shout. It is such an honor to be here today and celebrate you all in such a unique way. We acknowledge all the storytellers from the documentary Free Beer Tomorrow as we hear about the triumph, the joys, and the sorrows. Jacks and Summit Stations communities, we honor you too. The work and support that you continue to do. On to the historians, Freddie and Pat. They had their first date at that place called Jack's. 47 years, such a short time ago. It was 1970 and the music was disco. And from the Zippo lighters to the protest fighters, longest running lesbian owned operated bar. Welcoming the queer and the outcasts for years, they came from near the bar. Whether you were a girly girl or Butch and the Boss, it was 1980 and the music was Diana Ross. So many of you have paved the way for us to be free, show up as we are, and be who we want to be. We need places and spaces like that. It ain't always at home, and that's just a fact. And last but not least, to my trans sisters and brothers, we hold your crowns high like no other. And if you want to make a donation and give them $1, you can donate your money to Free Beer Tomorrow. All right.
Maybe we should pass that picture right now.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, where is that picture? Oh. All right, we will pass this picture. While I get my information about our first set of speakers, Freddie and Pat. Okay. Pat Semmelman is a retired psychologist. Freddie Reeds is a retired lawyer. They were active with Stonewall in the 70s and 80s and marched in one of the very first gay marches in Columbus and many others over the years. There were maybe 500 of them. One of the things that they did with Stonewall was to create the first lavender listings. They have been together, right there. They have been together for 47 years now, with all the joy, celebration, and sorrow that happen in a long relationship. They are very fortunate. Please welcome to the stage, Pat and Freddie.
Okay, you start. I get to start. So, when we were coming out, I was 18.
Microphone.
Oh, a little bit closer.
All right. You gotta eat it taller. So,
Can you hear me?
okay, so when I came out at 18, Freddie came out at 24. And we didn't know we had a history. We didn't know there was a gay history. And so here we are, almost 50 years later, talking to the Ohio Historic Group Connection. It kind of blows my mind. So one of the things we're going to tell you about is how we came to be a couple. Because Jax was definitely involved in that process. I was working in Ohio Wesleyan at the time. I was 28 years old, and I was in charge of women's programs at Ohio Wesleyan, which involved a ton of things. So one of the things I did for that was go to a conference in Cincinnati. It was called Women for Century 3. I think they meant the third wave of the feminist movement, but I'm not too sure. So I was at the conference and I happened to be there with an ex. We were trying, as we used to try to do, be friends. So we went to the conference, and that first Saturday night, we went on Friday, and on Saturday night, we decided we needed to find a bar, and I had a little book. And in those days, there were these little guides to where you could find a gay bar, and whether it was men or women or what its sort of theme was. And so we went, and I had a car, so off we went. The first place we went was an empty parking lot. The second place we went was a bar called Adam's Rib, which was in Cincinnati, not too far from the University of Cincinnati. It was very, very, very crowded. I went in and I happened to see someone who was only an acquaintance, but enough of an acquaintance to say, upstairs, is there anywhere to sit? Because this person was coming from upstairs. And she said, yes, at our table. So off we went upstairs and sat down. And as it turned out, I was sitting next to my ex I happened to be sitting next to Pat on the other side of me, who was sitting next to, unbeknownst to me, her ex. So as a consequence,
That's only lesbians can do.
so as a consequence, we had to talk to each other. So it's been a pleasant evening, dancing and having a good conversation. And then we went back to the hotel, which was in downtown Cincinnati. The next morning, I had my eye out to try and find her again. And I did find her in the morning, and I then proceeded to go to every single session she went to. We just went wherever. And so that's how we originally met, and that's our original anniversary, which is April 23rd, 1976. So then we went our separate ways at the end of the day. But before we did, I managed to get her address and phone number. So I came back to Delaware, Ohio, and a day or so later, I called a good friend of mine who used to work at Ohio Wesleyan, but then was in Columbus at that time. And I said, I met this woman. She said, oh, I know her. Would you like some help to see her again? And I said, that would be terrific. So we arranged that she would, and some people, including Pat, would come up to Delaware. We'd have dinner together. At the time, there weren't too many places to have dinner together in Delaware, Ohio, but we were gonna meet at the Holiday Inn. So, over to you.
All right, we tell us always in 2 parts. So on my side, this is her good friend who had actually broken up my relationship. Called me and said, would you like to go to dinner with us? And I said, sure, because lesbians always want to stay friends, particularly 50 years ago when there weren't so many lesbians. So we go, I get in the car and they start driving and driving and driving. And then we arrive in Delaware. And I walk into this restaurant and there is Freddie. And I was not happy because I felt deceived. Well, we managed to work through that without too much lesbian drama. And so then after dinner, we proceeded to come to Jack's.
So we all came down to Jack's and we spent many hours at Jack's that evening. And we had a very good time. And again, we danced and talked and just sort of messed around. And so there we were. And then it was getting close to time to get out of there. And so Pat said to me, can I borrow a dime? In those days, a phone call was a dime. And there was a payphone there, which at this point in time, having been in that building when the dedication took place, I think it's now a urinal. The spot where the cell phone was, or not the cell phone, the payphone was. So Pat called to make sure that the woman she was currently living with wasn't home.
Another ex.
Another ex. So she wasn't home, so we then proceeded to go to her home. And we spent the night together. And the next day I went back up to Ohio Wesleyan, and we've pretty much been together ever since. So, on the 23rd of April, we went to Jack's on the 30th of April. And 1 week after that, Pat came up to Delaware, unbeknownst to surprise me. I gave her a toothbrush that I bought her, and then that really was it.
So your turn. Oh, my turn. So for us, for us, Jack's was a place of safety. Jack's was a place of connection. Jack's was a place we could hear all the good gossip. Jack's was a place we could find out who was with whom, who was no longer with whom. So it wouldn't be erroneous and say to someone, how so and so. And only to be embarrassed, well, we broke up 6 months ago. So for us, at that period of time, Jack's was a community center.
So those connections that we were able to make there, because we met lots of people, we didn't just talk to each other. We met lots of people there, and as a consequence, we got to know other lawyers, doctors, audiologists, stockbrokers, just about everybody, and lots of people. And so some of those people became people who we then have had a relationship with for the last, I don't know, 40 some years until they're all retiring, which is unfortunate for us. But it was a way for us to get a sense of who was who in the community. So when Rhonda Rivera, who dragged me on the board, said, you know, we really ought to find a way to get people to know about all these various professions and businesses and places where people could do the things they need to do day to day, and have them patronize gay or gay friendly businesses. So we decided that we would put together our version of the Yellow Pages, which we then named Lavender Listings. And Pat and me and one other woman named Nancy, at our dining room table, basically put it together. We found a printer, we got it printed. Our goal was to get it done by the March that year, which was the year was 1984. And that year, the March ended at the State House grounds, which also happened to be the March where there were bomb threats. So it was an exciting time, and we decided we needed to sell the lavender listings because we needed the money that we used to print it. And so we sold it for $1, and we did a pretty good business with it that day. Lavender listings had all kinds of people in it, at least one of whom is sitting here today, and that would be Chris Kozak. And I looked through it today, and it's amazing of all the people who were in it. And if you want to look at the first one, it's over on that table, and there's an orange box beside it. The orange box is the box we used for our 3x5 card, where we wrote all the people we called and the yeses and the nos and what size ad they wanted and all that kind of stuff.
It was
And
high tech.
It was very high tech. Yeah. So that's how Lavender Listings came about.
All right. One of the things Freddie and I have talked about is how we miss the days when we had what I would call lesbian culture. When we had the lesbian music, the lesbian books,
Bookstore.
the family playing bookstore, the wearing music. And now that we've become more sort of enculturated, a lot of that has disappeared. And to be honest, we do miss that. I mean, there's pluses and minuses. I mean, it's been, you know, we've been together almost 50 years, so things change. But that was a very important and a real self-confidence builder, I think, for lesbians, that they weren't alone, that we had things in common, we had a shared community, and we were important to each other, because we certainly weren't bringing that message in the community at large.
But that acceptance by a broader community or acclimatization or whatever, I'm missing a word. But anyway, I'm old enough that the train falls off my track sometimes. What it did give us though is that we are this month celebrating our 10th wedding anniversary. And the coming April will be our 48th real anniversary. And that's all very important stuff. And it's the one from April that we described to you that's the most important. Well, that's our story.
See why we love doing this. It has been, just a complete honor, really, to have people trust us enough to, share their story. So we're gonna continue with the storytelling, and I am going to invite Teri up front. She is a very modest person, so we're not gonna do a whole lot of bio story. What she wants you to know will happen in the story that she tells you. So please welcome to the stage, Teri.
I'm not really a public speaker, so I'm gonna read them. It seems to me that Jack's meant many things to many people. For me, it was where I came out and where my life changed. Almost everything changed. My friends, my work, where I live, my social life. When I graduated from high school in 1968, I moved from a very small farming town to Columbus to go to business school. There I met and fell madly in love with a woman named Pat. Up until then, I don't think I realized I was attracted to women. In high school, I dated boys, went to the prom and other events with them, but I wondered what all the fuss was about because they didn't do that much for me. So I just figured that either I hadn't found the right boy or that there was something wrong with me. When Pat came along, neither of us really knew what to do with our feelings, so we stuffed them away and we struggled. Because I was so naive, I continued to do what I thought I was supposed to do and lived as a straight woman. A couple years later, ironically, it was Pat who introduced me to a very kind and gentle man named Fred, and he and I became good friends. Eventually, we moved in together and then got married. By this time, I had gotten over my feelings for Pat, and we were even at each other's weddings. While I was totally committed to my marriage and to Fred, just like in high school, it felt like there was something missing. I knew I wasn't as excited about the relationship as I had seen some of my friends being about theirs, and I wondered if I would ever experience what they did. A few years later, it was 1976, I had a long talk with Fred about my feelings about him and about women, and he was wonderful about it. He told me that he loved me and he wanted me to be happy, even if that meant I would not be with him. He thought I should explore my feelings about women. I told him that I had no idea how to go about that, and he said he knew just what to do. Turns out that the apartment where we lived at the corner of Maynard and Summit Street was just a block or two from Jack's. He told me that a few years before we were together, he had been at a party in that neighborhood and went out in search of a place to buy a pack of cigarettes. He found a bar and bought the cigarettes from a machine and decided to have a beer. So after ordering the beer and sitting at the bar, and then looking around, he realized he was in a lesbian bar. This is how he knew Jack's was right up the street from the apartment. So then he told me I should go to Jack's on a Saturday night and see what would happen. At first, I didn't want to do this. My commitment to the marriage made it feel wrong. And frankly, the idea scared me to death. But Fred insisted that I needed to try it and encouraged me with his usual generosity of spirit. When the night came, he even told me how to dress. He told me to wear a collared shirt tucked into my pants and to use a belt. He gave me one of his wallets and told me to put it in my back pocket. He also thought I should take off my wedding ring, but I wouldn't do that. I can still remember us getting me dressed that night and how kind and sincere Fred was. When I walked down the street from our house to the bar, I was so nervous that I nearly turned back. The only mistake Fred made was to send me there at 8 o'clock. So of course, there's hardly anybody there. I made the mistake of sitting at the bar instead of taking one of the tables at the back, where I would have been less conspicuous. I ordered a drink from the bartender, who I later learned was Cleta, and just sat there with my head down. I was so nervous that I downed the drink and ordered another one, and then another. Slowly, women came in and the place began to fill. Some of them were slow dancing and I wanted to look, but I was also afraid to stare. So I just kept looking up and then down and then up and then down. I was so uncomfortable, I wanted to leave. But before long, a woman sat down next to me and she asked me if it was my first time in the bar. I asked her how she could tell. And she told me I stuck out like a sore thumb. She also said it was only her second time there. We talked and talked, and long story short, we later ended up dating for 2 years. Her name was Joanne. During that time, we went to Jack's nearly every week as it was the only social outlet we knew. I remember being there on 2 occasions when police came in and just walked through attempting to intimidate us. The place got very quiet until they left. Joanne got me into women's teams playing softball, basketball, and volleyball. Through this, I met several other lesbians, some of whom have become lifelong friends. We sometimes went to Jack's after our games, and because I was getting to know people, eventually I got to the point where I would go there on my own. Thursday was the big night when it was the most crowded. One of these new friends introduced me to an organization called the Women's Action Collective. I became involved in the collective and met even more new friends there. We also went to Jack's on a regular basis, sometimes continuing our meeting discussions there. The Women's Action Collective was an umbrella organization which housed such groups as Women Against Rape and the Rape Crisis Center, Fan the Flames Feminist Bookstore, Child Assault Prevention Project, Lesbian Peer Support, and others. Once I got involved there, I felt like I had finally found where I belonged. I met so many interesting women, and their feminism spoke to me and helped me to deal with issues from my past. Through the experiences of the collective and at Jack's, I began to accept myself as a lesbian. Eventually, the collective folded, but some of the programs continued on their own. A small group of us started a new nonprofit called the National Assault Prevention Center, and the Child Assault Prevention Project became part of it. We also started assault prevention programs for developmentally disabled people and other groups. At the collective, I served as treasurer and house manager, as well as helped to organize fundraising concerts, dances, and other events. I also got to walk in the Women Take Back the Night marches and the very first Gay Pride. At the National Assault Prevention Center, I was the director of budget and management. My work there led me to the Columbus Urban League, where I was the vice president of finance. In summary, all of these things changed and took place in my life because I had an outstanding friend and husband who saw to it that I went to Jack's one Saturday night. Over the years that I went there, I knew it to be a place where one could feel at home and accepted. There were friendships and relationships made and broken, some arguments, many intense conversations, definitely some making out, and much laughter. Nearly every friend that I have today was made on the chain of events that were started that one Saturday night. The most important work I did in my life was made on that same chain of events. Thank you. I want to give a big thank you to Julie and Mallory and Lester for doing everything they're doing, organizing the plaque, the Jack's, doing this documentary and all these events. And I think we should give them a big round.
Yeah, I did. Speaking of Summit Station, really for me, speaking of jacks, you know, I was really lost when I came there. It's funny because, Peter Brown, second owner of, Jack's, she talks about that the reason that she got involved in the way that she got involved is because she just really wanted a place for the girls. And at that time, I was a super lost girl and had nowhere to go. And this beacon of light happened to pop up in Columbus, Ohio. And one of the people who I would never be able to thank enough for what they did for me there, the bartenders were amazing at Summit. They really and truly were. And Blazer's here tonight. And I want to give them, I know that David's here, and I know there's some other bartenders and barbacks here, but I just want to say, Blaze, thank you so much for your tough love and the times that I needed to see you tough. And for just the way that you and your team over the years cared for everybody. I just have to say that, wow, you surprised me back there. So thank you. Okay. Get me messed it up here. Let's see. All right, next. You know, Phil, yeah, send it to you a billion times. I should at least read it.
Oh, it's all right. You don't have to read it.
I don't have to read it?
No, yeah.
Well, you know, honestly, this person doesn't need a whole lot of introduction if you've been around a minute or two in Columbus and in the lesbian community. Please welcome to the stage, Phyl Gorman.
I want this not to be tall enough for me, but it fits, doesn't it? That's too bad. All right, they told me 7 minutes, so we'll see. I'm gonna try to tell 3 stories in about 7 minutes, and you know, come along. I want you to pay a little bit of attention to the days of the week I am mentioning and the times of day, because it's crucial. All right, everybody here, my guess is, has a first time you came in the door story at Jack's, right? And I'm gonna spare you that story, but what I am gonna talk about, and I heard a little rumbling, so I think this is gonna go over Thursday nights. Okay, I am just turned 21, which is what you need to do to be able to get through the door, because I had been escorted out of the Old English Tavern and had my fake ID destroyed prior to turning 21. So I'm 21 years old, it's 1978, and it's Thursday night, right? So what do you gotta do? Well, you know, the first thing you gotta do is make sure you look good. The hat, the hair, quarters, cigarettes, yep, rolled up, my Salem's, rolled up in my short sleeve button down shirt, belt, where it needs to be, boots. All right, looking good. I'm ready to go. So now I get to come in that door. Okay? And you come into that door and it's a whole different world. And it's where it's where I wanted to be for the next 4 days. Because the whole reason to go to Jack's on Thursday night was so you could come back on Saturday. Or on Friday and Saturday, and you know, maybe just Sunday afternoon, because there was football to watch, right? Well, I followed the Browns back then, but so I'm in the bar, I come through the door, I got my quarters. The very first thing you have to do, because I'm getting there early, not as early as Teri, but I'm getting there early, and you scan around. Oh, hooray. You wear a jacket no matter what the season is, because you got to claim a chair. So I got a chair, what's next? Okay, next you gotta go to the bar, right? Oh, they moved it, where's the bar? Okay, it's Thursday night. How much do Little Kings cost? Oh, baby, I was younger, 50 cents. It's part of why I got the quarters, right? So how many do you get? Well, 4, right? So you get 4. I can carry them like this, and now I put it down on my table. And now that table's mine. Right? Gotta kind of keep an eye on it, because sometimes the bitches would move your jacket and take your beers and steal your table. So keep small eye. Now you head across the floor, because what are these quarters for? Now, originally they were for laundry, but whatever I didn't spend on laundry, I put in my pocket. I'm feeding that jukebox, right? You could get a ridiculous number of songs for $1 back then. This is 1978. There were 5 or maybe 10 songs that I had to hear that night. I was gonna be there until at least 1 o'clock. I always tried to leave before 2, because I made the mistake of being there once. When the lights came up, that floor was very ugly. You did not want to see that floor, the bright light. It was always best to leave a little bit, a little bit earlier than that. So I feed the jukebox, maybe 30, 40 songs. And I don't know whether this worked or not, but if there was a song I really wanted to play, I might put the number in 3, 4 times. Did that work? I don't know if it worked or not. But when that song came on, it was mine. Right? I had played that song. You're just a little butch lesbian. You're trying to have, you're back at your table, you're drinking some beers, you're looking around, maybe you've got some friends there, maybe you don't. We were smoking in the bar. I know some of you are gonna find this hard to believe, but we were smoking in the bar. Now I had my cigarettes. I didn't really smoke much except for when I was in the bar. But maybe this night I'm not with anybody, my friends aren't there. But boy, that's a fine looking femme over at that table next to me. She's smoking a cigarette, it's in the ashtray, the ash is about this long, she's obviously forgotten it. Sooner or later, she's gonna put that one out, and I'll be ready. I'm watching, she puts it out, I'm watching, opens her little pack, nice little cigarette case, opens a pack, takes one out, taps it on the table. That's the sign, that's the moment. Oh, come on, baby. Yeah. Can I light that cigarette? Always started a conversation and always got me laughed at by my friends. So that's 1978, 1980, every Thursday night for a long time. Finally, I did what many lesbians from Columbus, and I'm born and raised. I left for a year to prove I could. And then I came back. And so now it's 1982 and Kelly McCormick is with me. I need an apartment. So we, go looking for an apartment and we get a place at 382 East Oakland. Now, I don't know, it depends on how much you know the neighborhood. That is 1 street north of the bar. I went back and stood on the porch of that place because I just really needed to know. It was under 200 steps between the door to that door, right? That door just keeps coming back, and so now Jack's is my neighborhood bar. I can go in the afternoon. Like that was, did you know that there were old white men that went to the bar first thing when it opened and actually spent a lot of money there? That was very good. I'm sure regulars are good, but it was shocking to me. Walking the old white men in my bar, but calm down. Neighborhood bar. My house was a place where if you drank too much at Jack's and you needed to not get your car, you could bang on my door. I'd let you in. There is at least one person here I know for sure who slept drunk on my couch. And wouldn't be surprised if there was more than one. You know, I was in graduate school then, so it wasn't a 4-day weekend anymore. It was, you know, probably a Saturday night, because, you know, graduate school. And, you know, sometimes we just hit Jack's and then go downtown to go dancing to the clubs. But it was my neighborhood bar. So we lived on Oakland for a couple of years, and then we moved, of course, not very far, still on Summit, down the road a little bit. And now I'm at the very end of my PhD program. I'm rewriting my dissertation for the 700th time, or maybe just 4th time. I'm mad at Verda Taylor at this moment, and I will just say that. Mad at Verda Taylor. I still love Lila though. God, you know, it's like no matter what she did to you, we're just gonna. But anyway, so I'm just not getting out very much, right? Because rewriting your dissertation, I have a full-time job now. I'm working at the Ohio Health Department in the AIDS Activities Unit, doing women in AIDS work. It's, you know, I'm busy, right? I'm not partying very much. So this time when I go through that door, it's Sunday afternoon, right? And just like that first time, that very first time when I thought everybody in the bar turned and looked at me. I don't think they probably did, but this time they did. Every person, all the other teams that were there, because it's, you know, Berlin, you know, softball's over, and all the other teams, the people in the bar, everybody turned and looked. You know, we had our softball uniforms on. I had my whole team behind me, and I came to, you know, claim a table. And that's why they were looking at me, because this time, instead of a coat, a lighter, I had an infant car carrier and my sleeping 5-month-old son. And I sat him down on the table. I think we probably only had a couple of beers that afternoon. But you know, you could come through that door and you were home. And thank you so much for giving me a chance to tell a couple stories, and for all of you, you know, for coming through that door and into my life one way or another, whether it was back then or today. Thank you. See, that was the problem.
Not a twist.
You need a lighter.
That's what, where's the one on your keychain? I'm disappointed.
You're right.
One more time for Phil, please. So what we would like to do now is bring the storytellers back up. We'll give you all a chair. We'll put chairs up here for you all. And we're gonna open it up to questions if you would like. If you yourself have something that you want to say, feel free. I'll bring the mic to you. But if the storytellers can come back up here, and we'll open the floor up to people who might have questions and or comments.
Please. We need more chairs.
Let's slow it up.
Okay, I think I'll start off with the first question.
Yeah.
And that first question is just simple. Like, of all of the things that you could have done, just coming out and telling this little story for this short time today, I'm curious about that choice. Why did you agree to do this?
I'm a giant extrovert and I don't get enough attention.
Because you have to.
That's the same answer for me.
Me too.
Really?
I think it probably has a little bit more, little more. I didn't even press that one. I didn't even try that. Well, that's my question. Let me think of another one. Anyone else out there where I'm thinking? Have a question or a comment you'd like to make?
I didn't hear anybody mention the pool table.
Ah,
That's because I missed that part of the story. You know, after you hit the jukebox with the quarters, I would always look over at the pool table. If the pool sharks were there, you know, I was not that good at pool player. Sometimes I put a quarter down anyway, because sometimes you could make a friend by losing it. So, yeah. Well, I think what kind of friend.
I never played pool because I knew I'd see horrible at it. I didn't play pool either. I used to watch people do it.
It was a spectator.
Yeah, it was.
Were you a pool player? You were, yeah.
so, we've heard, there's been a theme that it is, was like a community center. And, we can hear the themes of different kinds of organizing going on, but was there a familiar thing going on? Did you do things that, like family wise? Did you get together for holidays there? Did you, meet your friends and then, you know, it turned into a, family type of affair with the folks that you met at some. And you didn't say anything about moms.
Well, I mean, that's key.
Baby.
The baby was mom's son. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I think, you know, in 1978, when I first went to Jack's, I called myself a queer. And it was not a compliment, right? I didn't have a word, I didn't really have the word lesbian in my vocabulary yet, you know? Homosexual, I knew homosexual. I hadn't been to a women's studies class yet. Dan Britton was my first women's studies instructor. I didn't even know what feminism was. And so, Jack's was a place where I got to figure out that it was totally okay to be a lesbian and that there were women who would like me and would be attracted to me. And then, Ohio State University provided the scholarship, but Jack's provided I think back then we used to have the academic versus the community, debate. And when push came to shove, being a lesbian, you did that in the community. You know, you could talk about it and on it, write a dissertation or a master's thesis about it at the university. But if you actually wanted to find another lesbian and do the things that lesbians do, Jack's was a pretty good place for doing that. And that was, I guess maybe I was trying to create family, but I'm not sure.
The only thing I can say about that, just that at that time I wasn't close to my birth family at all. And all the people that I met, the chain of events that brought me to all the people that I met through there became my chosen family, and they still are.
People I met there became family. There was a group of us who used to always do Thanksgiving year after year after year. There were tons of it. Now people have moved or broken up or died or whatever, and so that group is down to just a few people now. And we used to do a New Year's that was very similar to that. But again, it's down to a few people, but the few people are still extremely important because they've known me for a long, long time. And that's pretty valuable.
I can't add anything to that.
You all were involved in the 202 parties, correct?
Oh, yes.
So, can you talk about the 202 parties? What were the 202?
Yeah, I don't know if Sue's still here, but, one of my friends, Sue, and I were talking one day. I used to live on Kelso in the 43202 zip code and in Clintonville, and we were talking, somebody told us that the Lesbian Connection newsletter had more subscribers in the 43202 zip code than anywhere in the country. I think that so we said we should have a 43202 party. And so I said, okay, let's have it at my house. So all we did was, we told everybody we knew, and we told them to tell everybody they knew. And the first one, I think we had maybe 3 of them. The first one, there were nearly 100 women were there, and I didn't know hardly any of them.
Did you have a sense at all? I know that when we interviewed, we asked you all these questions, but did you have any sense at all that what part you were playing in history, or that you were going to be involved in something as historical as it really was? Did you have any sense of it?
I think being at Jack's made me think I could change history. I don't think I ever really thought I was changing history there. But it gave me such it was part of building my self-confidence and building my belief that, fuck the homophobes, right? If somebody is homophobic towards me, they're the one with the problem. Lesbian panel work, right? Where you field questions. And so that sense that I was okay. And that, and if you didn't like it, I think I learned that lesson there.
I would just echo that, and I just felt that I was okay to accept it, and that was the first time in my life I ever felt like that, ever. I felt some of that, but I also know I got some of that because of the feminist movement that was roaring around at the time, and I remember there being a big issue about the lesbian menace with the feminist groups. And I remember thinking to myself, well, that's me. But I'm still active in the movement, and I would still go to marches, and I would still do all the various pieces and parts of that. And Jack's, which was the first gay bar I ever went to, gave me a place to be both those things, which is what I like.
I'm not sure when you're in your current history that you're making history. But for me, what it was learning about the shoulders of the women I stood upon. And that's what I learned a lot about. What they went through, what happened in the 50s, what happened in the 40s, the 20s. And so learning about that I was connected, far in the, I don't know far, but in the past, so there was a sense of connection, and I was part of that connection. But I don't think I said to myself, oh, I'm making history.
Before you pass it back, what do you hope that people get? I know that you support us doing. Sorry. What do you hope that people? I know that you all support doing the documentary. I know you contribute your parts and pictures. I wish I could have gotten them playing. But what do you hope that people will take away from the storytelling event or take away from the documentary? What do you hope that they'll take away from?
It's just a way of letting women who weren't there know that we were. And a way of keeping the legacy, the experience of who we were visible to the world. Because I know, I thought, the first time I had sex with a girl, I thought I had made it up. I actually believe that I had invented. having sex with a female. I totally believe that. And, you know, I kind of wishes the young woman could have that same feeling. Great. But there was a lot of pain that came with it too, and invisibility, and you know, the fact that this chapter of Columbus lesbian history isn't just going to pass into the mist, and that's a good thing.
I think I want you all to know you have stories too. It's not just us. We all have our stories. And it's important that they get passed to somebody in some way. Some people do it via having children. Some people do it via their families. Some people do it via their friends. In whatever way, it's important to know that there were people before us and there are going to be people after us who are going to share some of the same experiences and because of the people who came before us. And I think that I love history. I think history is extremely necessary. And this is just a piece of it. And when I was like really young, I still loved history, but I did not understand that each of us is a piece of that.
I think about the legacy that, and when I see the plaque, it says, basically, history was made here. And I think there's something just really cool about it.
I just want to say that when I went to that very first gay pride march, I don't remember how many people were there, not very many.
Not very many.
Some had paper bags over their heads, and we could not have dreamed that it would become what it is now. I believe they said this year was almost 700,000 people, and there were floats and banners from churches, political people, and it just, we could not have dreamed that. We also could never have dreamed that we'd be able to get married. And so it's important to know what it was like to appreciate what we have now.
I remember when we would sit around the Whack House and talk about whether we would get married if we could. And we all talked about, we're not going to participate in that in case we are cold. And here we are.
And some of us are.
I'm gonna try to make this up. So, I have not had a ton of access to our elders throughout my life, so I just want to thank you for being here and for being visible. But my question is, things feel really dangerous right now to be who we are. So what would you say to the younger generations looking to build community?
You know, I always have something to say. Be brave. Be brave. You know, when I was inventing lesbian sex, one of the first things I learned about it was it made me a criminal. And, you know, to be honest, that was kind of hot. Right? Because you are a much better target of people's bullshit when you look scared. You're a much better target of people's anger and bigotry and all of that when you seem weak. Even if you are faking, be brave. Because, you know, it's kind of like, what's the worst that can happen? You could get hurt. Well, guess what? People get hurt. Be brave.
That. Be brave together. Get other people to be brave too. You can keep being brave if you can find that in yourself. So that's why one reason this event is pretty special, and this documentary is going to be pretty special. I think it's part of teaching us be who we are, to be happy about it, and to be proud of it, and to be brave.
And well, I'm not a brave person, to be frank. And but I think it helps to know you're not alone. We have a whole room full of people right now. And you know, it always helps me to remember I am not alone. And also we know that when people know us, know who we are, it is harder for them to hate us. You know, I mean, we've done panels, we've done workshops, we've done a lot of things in our younger days. So people could see we didn't have, you know, horns on our head, or were engaged in some sort of bizarre sexual activity. I swear to God, they thought we were having sex from the chandeliers, and I don't know when they thought we had time to. And, you know, it's dispelling a myth because you're living your life and people know you. And it's a little harder to say you're a terrible person because they know you. And so that's why it was important for me to become, you know, more and more open. Let me tell you, so I have a gym I go to, and I was in that gym, and I had come out of the shower, and I was standing there stark naked with a towel over my shoulder, and that's when the marriage case came down, and I had these straight women hugging me. Supporting me, and I was like, oh my. So you never know.
And I just want to add quickly to that, in the various places we've lived, we've often had little kids on our streets. And we know because their parents have occasionally told us, one on our street said, are they boys or girls? Or why are the two women? Where, you know, I have daddy, why are they two? And fortunately, he's been able to have a good conversation about it. And I know in both those places we live, that those kids, I know, because we just lived our life in front of them, interacted with them will have a different attitude probably than not.
Absolutely.
I'd also say, you gotta practice using your voice. Even if it's only to use your voice in the mirror. And to think about those things that someone's gonna say to you and be prepared to respond instead of have it stab you and shut you down. You have to breathe. It's the simplest trick in the world is to breathe through your nose and out your mouth. And your mind want to resist that. Tells you that's what you need to do, because when you do that, you're holding on to it all. You take a breath, you can't help but there's no way to take a deep breath and not expand your body. And even if that imperceptible little movement, that reverberates, we're all these eons up against each other, and they'll feel that, and you will feel that. And just knowing your history is helpful so that you don't have to spend your life thinking that you're alone or by yourself. You can recall the stories that you read about. You can recall the power in them.
Thank you. I've had the opportunity to travel pretty much across the US. One of the things I'll tell you about violence is it's been around for a long time. The violence against this person is not going anywhere, guys. It's been here forever. It's not going anywhere. The other side was a bar in Georgia, in Atlanta. It had a bomb. I was in there like a week before the bombing. So Columbus has been an open community. There's some bars in West Virginia, in Huntington, as a matter of fact, that we, in the 90s, used to have to push a button to get in. And I think there were some in Columbus that you had to push a button, ring a bell, basically, for security purposes. Wall Street for a long time had one. And we went in on the alleys a lot. And so it was there was always a risk. And there's always going to be, because there's going to be people that are going to be against you. I think we're open more now than we and there's access. And it's a community that I think is what keeps us safe. And that's what did it back then.
We have some people with us on Zoom. Noah, who's remote right now. Noah's question is, where do you all go to find community now in a time when lesbian spaces are so rare?
Small advertisement. I'm a board member of the WWTLC, the We Want the Land Coalition. And if you never went to Michigan, well, if you did go to Michigan, raise your hand. This summer you can go again. Rent an RV, because I know how old we are. Rent an RV, bring a battery to meet your electrical needs, and come on. They got golf carts for shuttles. It's only the groups are a few hundred instead of a few thousand. But there's a place to find community. And I think just like in the really old days, we have it at our houses. I go over to Christy Mackey's house. She comes over to mine.
Yeah, for me, it's the same. I just have a very great network of friends that we just get together in each other's homes and do things together, and that's it.
Vacations, you going?
Take vacations together. Yeah, do holidays together. Well, it's friends, it's events like this, it's participating in various events and activities. I have not done a lot formally with the gay community in terms of politics and that stuff for a while. but I have done it with other organizations that deal with people who are not very well liked by most of the community, not the gay community, but larger community. And so that's where I put my energy and that's where I make my commitments. And then I have my group of friends who I spend time with. We have people over for dinner, we do, you know, we just do things. And I go to the Clintonville market and I meet new people, yes, literally, and one of whom is here tonight. Which was all because I liked the t-shirt. And we found each other that way, and now we get together on a pretty regular basis, which is pretty wonderful.
Well, because I'm curious and tend to be kind of a bold person sometimes, I'll go up to people and ask them questions, particularly if I recognize someone who at least appears to me to be a lesbian. Which is what happened with these people we met at the Clintonville Farmers Market. I was so curious that I began to ask them questions. And you can see why was a psychologist. Or I'll ask people who have tattoos, and I'll go up to them and I'll say, tell me about your tattoos. And that's sort of another way. So sometimes you just have to allow yourself to be curious. And if somebody they might be gay, you never know what kind of friendship you're going to strike up. And so it's pretty cool that, I mean, you know, we're in our mid-70s, that we can still create friendships with other
And I just want to add one thing. I was really, really lucky most of my career, if not all of it, that I always worked in organizations or with people who I could be who I am. And that was so helpful to me. And so therefore, I still have connections with some of those people, even though I've been out of that world for quite a long time.
We have time for 2 more questions.
So, like Phyllis, he put a microphone in my hand. Try to be brief. But, I have a couple of thoughts to that question. But one is like, where do you find community? You build it.
Yeah.
Just like you be brave. And one of the ways to build it is to get involved. The LBA has been around for the LBA's had a few, iterations. It was originally the Lesbian Business Association. We produced the Ohio Lesbian Festival for 30 years. We now are called Lesbians Benefiting the Arts, because we want to keep the LBA, and we tend to focus more on, like we've had an art show the last 2 years. We have Lesbian Visibility Week coming up in April, and we're planning sort of I don't know what we're going to call it yet, but like a weekend event with performances and music and like a festival without the camping sort of thing. So get involved, volunteer for the LBA, volunteer for Pride, volunteer wherever you are moved to volunteer, whatever issues matter to you. But you can help build community, and you make friends, and you might get a date.
That's absolutely it. If you want it, build it.
Yeah.
Action. If you want it, you need to build it. And stop waiting for someone else to build it, or stop wishing that you had what we had, because it can't look exactly the same anyway. If you believe it, don't be like this one here and think you're the only one. If you want to, I guarantee you there's 5 more people who want to too. And they're sitting there too, waiting for someone to say, gosh, I wish there was a storytelling event at Ohio Historical Connection. That would be really cool around the lesbians. And you know what else would be cool? Is if they would if they would like invite music and library and all of that. So it can happen, just all you have to do is do it. This is our last question. Yes, Ms.
I didn't have a question per se, as I had comments. Because if you give me a microphone, and Lester, I'm moving so I can see these beautiful faces, because I can't see them. But I just wanted you to know, you mentioned you stood on the shoulders of those who came before you, and I wanted to thank you for being visible. Because those of us younger can now see the shoulders who paved the way and the shoulders who made a difference for us to be us. And whenever I say being us, I also need to thank you for starting Lavender Listings. Because whenever I was scared gay boy after a divorce, yes, I was a gay boy once, now I'm this beautiful butterfly of a woman. But I didn't know where to find resources, so I thank you for starting that and making a place to where someone could find a safe space and somewhere to find safe spaces, even though I miss Jax. But I just want to say thank you for being present and being living history and for making a difference so that we can see you. And some of the younger folk and I were talking about, this is so amazing seeing those who came before us. So again, thank you, and thank you for giving us your time and your stories on this day of coming out and making a difference so we could come out. So thank you.
Oh, well, that concludes our program for this evening. Mayor the Miss is gonna play us out. Please, if you haven't had, we've got about 20 more minutes in the space. Please, if you have not checked out the artifacts and the memorabilia that is around, please do. I want to thank, I can't remember all the names, I don't have my list in front of me, it's been a very organic kind of day. But all of the folks, Wendy, Ben, Svetlana, Crystal, who else am I forgetting, Julie? Mallory.
Library.
I said the library.
Oh, Casey.
Oh, no, I did. Casey, Millie, and everybody else. You know who you are. You know I love you, and that I'm hugging you. And make sure you all are safe. Oh, we have to do the raffle. Come on. We have to do the raffle. I forgot about the raffle.
I'm being sneaky, I'm sorry.
You are very sneaky. You want me to?
Didn't want you to forget. Can we use the bucket back there?
Yeah.
Here.
Oh,
Perfect. Just like a light.
we have the hat.
All right.
Just, there's 8 prizes, just pick what you want.
Okay, there's 8 prizes, pick what you want.
First come, first served.
The first winner, and we have no chicken dinners, is 6355-323. 323, you are a winner.
You must be present to win.
You don't have to be present, as Julia said. So.
Take a picture and share it.
Okay.
Oh.
They put their name.
If you're not
Oh,
here,
there we
you
go.
must laugh.
All right. Here we go. Thank you. Well, thank you, Mayor. Take that right over there to that and, all right. Next.
Yeah, I'm laying our storyteller's pick for us.
Oh, okay. See, I said organic. So you know the first 3 numbers. Actually, is it the first one? Yeah, so the first 4 numbers are the same. Last 3 digits, 371. 371. Well, they'll be getting a call.
Okay. Storytellers get to draw.
Next winner, 374, probably all the same person. 374. 374. Dig in that bag, dig.
Dig in there.
Or that bag.
Yeah, that one.
Okay. 375. Jay Brown, you are winning a whole bunch.
Well, they bought a lot, I believe.
Apparently.
They're not getting. Good.
Yes,
Bill says you're not winning, you're not winning.
There you go, that's a different.
Maybe they were here way early. I had to go to bed. Okay. 357. 357.
Someone help me. Is that, I have 3 here, that's 2, that's.
Man, but
We have 3 more. Okay, we have 3 more prizes.
3 more.
3 more prizes. Yeah.
Okay. Oh, I think I know this winner. 348. You just scared. 348. That's you, Suzanne. Yeah. Okay, 348. 352. 35. Is that you all too?
Is that you also?
Oh, yeah, it is.
There's 2.
And the last one.
Well, you're reading the name.
I gotta give it to him. I mean, what can I say? 369. It's Jay Browning.
Well, I can tell y'all, Jay Brown and they bought $20 worth of raffle tickets, so.
That's why you do it. Say, we're all the winners. Put your hands together. Thank you all. Have a safe trip. Home, be safe, and we love you.
Freddie.
Thanks for being here.
Bring them out.
Yeah. In the bathroom.
Oh. There.
Once a month, I think this would be the second. Friday.
It's all about things.
The beats. You know, when I might, I'll actually serve my reps, but.
One of the things, somebody who listens. All right, now let's follow up with you.
Mhm.